Hello everybody, my name is Shelly. Welcome back to my channel. I have a video that I've been meaning to do, and it's a video, you can probably tell by the name. I've done 2 videos like this so far, really close to it, slightly different. It's a long time coming, this particular video. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys today about Huda Beauty's Mercury Retrograde. Now, you're gonna say, Shelly, this is not new. Nope, it is not new. However, I keep seeing it. People are still buying this, and it's still on sale. I saw it at Sephora during their VIB holiday sale. It was, I think that it's normally $67 and it was on sale for $34. So it's still out there and you can still get it. And if you're late to the game, I thought I would maybe do a little comparison video here for you guys. I like to dupe videos. Kind of how I originally started even getting interested in YouTube was watching other people's dupe videos. I was fascinated by them, and I thought, you know what, we're gonna do some. So every now and then I throw in a dupe video. I have duped this palette 3 times already. Now, this is the first one that I purchased. This is the changeable Bubble Nebula palette, and I think it's You Can Be. Yeah, You Can Be makeup. And that's what it looks like. It's already kind of crumbling and falling apart. And I gotta be honest, I didn't like it. And that turned me off to the whole palette in the color store, because I was like, well, if I don't like the dupe, why else would I do it? So anyway, then I got the W7 version. Then I got the C Color Cosmetics one. This is the Galaxy palette. The video I did with the C Color Cosmetics and the W7, I think I really like the W7 one. I've had 0 issue with the C Color Cosmetics, but I think in the win, I think in the battle, I think the W7 one won. So we're gonna go with that one, if my memory serves me correctly. And W7 is a brand, I mean, the first time I saw this particular brand, I saw it like at TJ Maxx or Marshalls or Ross or somebody like that. I know you can get a lot of these on Amazon as well. They do a lot of dupe for the Naked palettes, the Urban Decay Naked palettes. And I gotta be honest, I don't really love those, but I also don't love the original Urban Decay Nakeds. They're a little bit too chalky, a little bit too pale for me. I like an eyeshadow with a little bit more punch, I think. I placed an order with Huda at one point in time, and this was a gift with purchase. It was free. Now, it's a $67 palette. Even if you only pay $37 for it, like, you know, on the sales right now, it's still expensive. So to get it for free and to finally resolve my question of why does everybody love this palette so much? We're gonna play with it today. We'll do a little comparison, compare the two, and then we'll just kind of see. We'll see. Is this really as good as people say it is? Lady of a certain age, not a makeup artist, not sponsored, affiliated, endorsed. Let's just see what we can come up with. So I'll be right back. Hi. Okay, so we're gonna take Huda's Mercury Retrograde. Again, not a new palette, but one that everybody loves this. And I think with my first stab at this, and because I didn't love the palette that I was using, the dupe palette that I was using, I never went back into it. So we're gonna try a look with this. I don't know, should I go crazy or should I do normal? And we're gonna put it up next to the W7 palette, which I actually really liked. When I duped it and I tested it out, I was like, wait, okay, maybe I can see why people like this. When I first look at this palette, all I see are pastels. And I'm not normally a pastel user, but if you can get past the pastels, you do have a couple nice dark shades here. You do have some transition shades. You do have some inner corner highlights, and you've got some fun pops of color. And I actually do like teals and purples and blues. So this seems like it would be a perfect palette for me. Let's see. Let's see what we can do here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the same brush and color switch it in between. I've got my little color switch right here. I'll color switch it between, that way we get as close to the same application as we can. I can't imagine that we can take I don't even remember how much this palette was, 10 bucks, we'll just call it $10. Can't imagine taking a $10 palette and bump it up next to a $67 palette, made in the PRC palette, and bumping it up next to a $67 normally made in Italy palette. Let's just see. Sometimes you hear, oh, they're made in the same factory. Well, not if it's in different continents. That's not possible. I do have a little of the NYX serum, concealer serum that I had underneath my eyes that I kind of drug up. So my eyes are a little emollient right now. I'm actually gonna use that to my advantage. I'm gonna take this sort of bone shade right here in the middle, and we're just gonna use that to sort of set down that eyeshadow primer. It's gonna help give me a little bit more of a consistent base as well, but it's also going to kind of mattify any of that emollient primer stuff that I had on there. Okay, color switching, going over to the same shade in the W7, and I think they're laid out. Yeah, they made it easy for me. They're laid out identically. It doesn't say that it's the same. The names are also not the same, so it's not purporting to be a dupe. I would say that it's probably not saying anything else, but if you're any kind of makeup lover, you're probably going to say, oh, this is inspired by. Some people don't love the dupe videos. Some people feel like, oh, you should only buy the original. I think we're going to go into a number of shades here. I'm going to take this kind of pink, actually I need a fluffier brush. I'm going to take this mauve-y color right here on the Huda side, and that's going to be my transition. I'm just lightly dusting it up above where my crease is, just kind of on that brow bone, because I want to start my gradient up there, ombre effect, wash of color, okay? And we're going to take the same one on the W7 side, and this one almost looks a little bit more kick up, looks a little warmer. Let's just see here. At first glance, they're very similar. One shade, I cleaned it off. I'm going back into the Huda side, build that up a little bit, clean it off, go back into the W7 side. They both have gone on without any kind of patching or skipping. Maybe a little bit right here on the W7 side, but that might be from what I have underneath it. Shade-wise, pretty close. I feel like maybe the Huda side has a little bit more pink to it. This side doesn't give me quite as much dimension, but it's a matte, so I don't know what I was expecting. Okay, let's take a different brush here. I lost this brush, but now I've got it. Okay, I'm gonna take this plum color down here and a little bit further down than where I left that first mauve color. Actually, technically the second color, if you think about it, if I get correctly here. And I'm tapping it in so it doesn't get too patchy. You know what? This is actually very subtle. I think I find that a little bit more with the Huda palettes is they go on and you can really sheer them out. But then if you really want to build them up, you've got that option too. So I'm actually really enjoying that. I just picked up the first brush again without putting any more product on it. Cleaning off my brush. Let's go into the W7 side, pick up that same kind of plummy color, building the crease a little bit, tapping it in, deposit the product, windshield wipering it back and forth. Okay, this tone feels a little brighter and lighter than the Huda side. I need to go back into first brush. I've got a little bit of a patch here, but again, and you might not even be able to see it. I'm gonna see if I can't fill that in. The shade right here. Maybe I didn't get that initial bone shade as much over my lid as I wanted. All right, cleaning off the brush, going back in on the Huda side. Trying to get these to look similar, right? That's kind of the goal here, is to see if we can get a similar look with a dupe palette, and then you don't have to go out and buy the most expensive one if you are fiscally responsible. Or you see it on sale and you're like, hey, I didn't get this all the other times that it was available. Okay, I feel like that color on the W7 side was maybe a little bit more raspberry, if that makes sense. Let's go down all the way to the darkest shade here. Huda palette right here. This is kind of a really dark, rich purple. I'm not telling you the names because it's kind of hard to read. I'm just putting it down next to my lash line, and then I'm gonna work it up a little bit to where I meet that crease shade that I had from before. So I'm not taking it maybe as high as I normally do, bumping it up there. And because I have more close set hooded eyes too, I kind of fight with making sure my proportions are correct. And one of the tricks is always to kind of look ahead in the mirror and just make sure, are you seeing where you want it to see? Are you hiding what you want to hide? Are you working with those optical illusions? This is very, very pretty actually. Cleaning off that brush, going over into the W7 palette. Do the same thing over here. Okay, I feel like I'm going in a number of times on the W7 side to pick up the pigment that I got with the first brush on the Huda side. So again, we can't really compare quality. We're trying to see if we can get a similar look. And I think for the price, even if you go through the product twice as fast, you're still not spending as much as you would on the original. Both palettes are building up, which is nice. I've got this like pink purple thing going on right now. What else do I want to put on here? You know what? We haven't tried any of the shimmers. Boy, these two shimmers don't even look like they're the same color. There's several in here that when you look at them in the pan, they're not the same. So for example, this is the W7 palette, this is the Huda palette. The shimmers I think are where I see the biggest discrepancy. This shimmer right here seems a lot more saturated than this one down here on the Huda side. This one here on the Huda side seems more gold, and this one seems like it's got more of a taupe underlay to it. This on the W7 is more raspberry, where this one feels like it's more rose gold, right? Aside from digging my nail in the Huda palette, this purple right here is quite a bit different than this purple in here too. So just looking at the shimmers, I'm seeing those are probably the biggest discrepancies. But so far, I feel like I'm able to get a very similar look here. So let's try, I'm gonna take a little bit of this purple pull on the Huda side and tap it right there. Okay, that's have an overlay to it? I can't tell. All right. It's more, it feels like a topper, not super pigmented, very iridescent looking. I'm going to use the other finger on the, and we're going to go into the, it's the same placement, but it looks like a much darker shade. We're going to go to this on the W7 side. Okay, it actually does have a lot of similar iridescence to it. That's a surprise. Back into this one on the Huda side. We're just kind of blending out the edges a little bit. That surprisingly went on very similar. I wasn't expecting that. Okay, we're taking the pink. I've got it cleaned off on both. We're gonna go into this pink right here and bump it up right next to that other shimmer. Such a nice consistency. I love the feel of this shade on the finger. This one I feel like would make a great all over the lid, that rose gold. Doesn't need to even need to be this complicated with trying all these shades, but we're trying. Okay, and then I need to grab on W7. This is the same place. It looks much darker in the palette than it does on the finger. And oh my gosh, it looks almost identical on the eye. Wow. I would not have thought that. By looking up in the pan, I thought, oh, these aren't even the same shades. But once you put it on the eyeball, I feel like I've got a little bit more fallout underneath here than I do on the Huda side. All right, let's keep going. Take a little smaller brush, and I might as well, I feel like I'm keeping everything to this side. I'm gonna go into the lightest shade over here with the brush and pop that into inner corner. And we'll just connect it up with probably a gold color would have been really pretty in inner corner too, huh? And this is another one that looks much darker in the W7 side than on the Huda side. So let's just see. Yeah, this one, is it? Okay, this one feels on the W7 side might have a little bit more of a pink undertone to it, where on the Huda side it's a little cooler, more of a brighter, lighter shade, but pretty darn similar. I think if I were to walk down the street, or maybe even go into an Ulta or something, or a Sephora, I don't know that they would know, especially not the ones local here. I don't think that they would notice that I was wearing two different eyeshadow palettes. My husband's not here to ask. He's normally my litmus test. Small brush here. I'm gonna go into this color right here on the Huda side, and we're gonna use that just under the lower lash line. Probably should do a little bit more cleanup down here, but I really wanted a kind of a soft shade down there. Clean the brush as much as I can. I'm actually going to flip it over too and grab, wait, that's flipped over. Grab it on the W7 palette. Transfer right now. Part of it is from previous eyeshadows. So far so good. I'm a little dark under my eyes right now. I'm going to try to clean that up a little bit. Where did that? Been using this NYX serum under my eyes and I actually like it. Just a little goes a long way. And I feel like it's this one. This is in shade Vanilla. I think it's a little too light for me, but if I'm trying to clean up a little bit, it helped a little bit. It's kind of a fun purpley pink look. Definitely feels like more of a winter look. I'm gonna go back into that kind of dark raspberry, which I used in my crease earlier, and I'm just gonna darken up that outer corner just a scotch. I didn't use any of the turquoise. I think the last time I used this palette, I used more of the turquoise, and I'm kind of darkening that up a little bit. Okay, let's put some mascara on. This is very soft and subtle, but I want to give you my final take on this, so I'll be right back. Okay, you guys, back with some mascara and a little bit of a curl to the lashes. What do we think of these shades? Do you think that they look similar enough? Because when I look in the mirror, when I look in the viewfinder, they look really, really close. So, Huda Beauty, if it's in your budget, or you've got a sale, or you're gonna make another purchase and you get it for free like I did, yeah. I finally am starting to see why people like this palette so much. I think this is an everyday wearable palette, with the exception of this right here, right? I think you have everyday wearable shades. I think maybe I could have gotten rid of one of kind of like the gold type looks, or gold type shades, because it seems like to me there's like 3 of them. I could have gotten rid of one of those and maybe done like a chocolate brown. I don't know, that would have worked with maybe a dark chocolate. That's almost like an espresso, but it feels like it's got a purple tone undertone to it. These shades right here, these bright green, turquoise, seafoam, those shades, I think they make nice accent colors. I feel like I've got a number of shades on here, so it's probably a little bit more complicated than I would do for an everyday look, but it's definitely something that I would consider for something fun, and it's fun to try a bunch of different shades. So yes, now okay, I get it. I don't know that this is like my #1 favorite eyeshadow palette of all time, but I think this has a lot of potential. Sorry it took me so long to get to it. As far as the dupe goes, W7 made a really solid dupe with this palette. I was surprised that some of the shades showed up as close as they did. The one exception of all the shades that I tried was this pink down here in the corner. I think it's slightly more warm than the one that's on the Huda side, but I think that, you know, you've got some other options if you wanted to kind of brighten it up a little bit. You do have this right here, which would probably, if you mix the two, would probably get what you needed. So all in all, the W7 Total Eclipse palette is, out of all the dupes that I've tried so far, these three, W7 made the closest dupe in my opinion. This Bubble Nebula palette from Changeable You Can Be, this one was junk to me. It was the first one that I got. It's crumbly, falling apart. I didn't like the way the colors are. It didn't have even quite as many of the exact shades as I would have expected to. When I look at it right now, I didn't enjoy this. I cannot recommend that one. The C Color Cosmetics, if you're on C Color Cosmetics, I know they have a sale right now, the day that I'm filming this. If you're on C Color Cosmetics, I think they make good dupes. They're solid dupes. Not as good a quality, I think, as the W7. There you go. That's my final. Oh, I thought, you know what, for fun, because I think that my first thought too was, how close is it to the new Rose Quartz? Let's take a look at these two side by side. So the Rose Quartz and the Mercury Retrograde, and let's just see how close are they really. Okay, so the top one is Rose Quartz and the bottom one is your Mercury Retrograde. Now, obviously in the Rose Quartz, you don't get the blues, so we can kind of eliminate that. Some of the purples look similar. I think Rose Quartz gives me the chocolatey browns that I was missing in this one. A couple of the transition shades, I mean, a couple of these shades look like they might be very similar. Like this one right here looks very similar to this one. This one's not that far off of that. Mercury Retrograde has this gorgeous plum color that we're missing here in the Rose Quartz palette. This shade right here seems similar to this. We've got some that are, you know, seem like they're very close to it. This one just has these teals and purples that we don't get the same one in the Rose Quartz. So if that makes any difference to you, again, the Mercury Retrograde, not new, often on sale, I'm finding. The Rose Quartz, new release from Huda. I think if you have one, maybe you don't need the other. If you didn't get one, maybe you were scared of the blues or the turquoises in the Mercury Retrograde palette, and that's the reason why you prefer the Rose Quartz. I don't know if that helps you guys at all. Don't know what I'm doing here most of the time. Just the way it is. Anyway, I hope you guys are doing really well. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me how you feel about these two palettes. Did either one of them, either the Mercury Retrograde, did you get it? Does seeing it in use again, does that spark your interest to go back and play with it some more? Or did you skip it because it was like, I don't really know what to do with it? Or did you do like I did and start with a dupe and were thoroughly disappointed? I would look into the W7 if you want to revisit that color story. So I think the colors actually turned out really well. I think they turned out actually very similar. All right, you guys, with that, I'm gonna get out of your hair and hope you guys have a fantastic afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. And until my next video, bye for now.